So that brings us to the local angle now, which will wrap this tawdry affair up with today, and that is Mr. Ken Ali. I am a heterosexual. I am married. It didn't work out too well in the primary. Do you think there's pressure on voters with the media to condemn? I mean, he was making a point that another candidate potentially was bisexual. I don't think we even should get into names. But the point is that he was ridiculed in the media.
Of course, they'll ridicule anyone for anything. But, you know, now you talk about a double standard. And you have someone like Mr. Aiken, who really put his foot in it last week and said the stupidest, most uneducated thing in the world.
What did he say? I can't seem to get that to come through on any media reporting.
He said that women's bodies, women in general, have the capacity in cases of what he called legitimate rape to prevent conception. And
what does that mean in English?
Well, that's what he said. That's almost his exact words. What it means,
I know, but it's...
What it means is that if a woman has a child as a result of rape, it's because she wanted to. She either wanted to have sex or she wanted to have the child, but she has the capacity to prevent it otherwise. It's almost going back to the old dreadful joke about rape just being a case of not saying yes in time. I mean, it's horribly insulting to women. Not to mention the fact that it's physically incorrect.
And when Aiken said that, everybody went off the reservation. Everybody was complaining and carrying on. And I thought, I wonder if this is going to be as one-sided as we think it might be. Rush Limbaugh came out and said a few things in support of him. Back to the politically correct comment, no one is allowed to say anything anymore in case they might make a mistake. Now the rest of this man's history is just, he's trashed, he's gone, no matter what. Our party, the Republican Party's throwing him out, they're not giving him any money.
Well, why isn't he gone already? Shouldn't he just
He said
leave?
no, and he's
it's up to him personally.
Yeah.
But isn't that going to cast a shadow? Is that potentially the quote-unquote the storm of the convention?
I don't think so. I just,
the entire Republican Party has disowned the man, and they did so immediately.
Immediately, so that's, I think that's fine. But look what happened, you know, Clinton carried on the whole time he was in office, and the media sort of reported it, and everybody joked and laughed about it, but he was allowed to get away with it.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, it was in every report in every newspaper in the country.
It didn't hurt him any.
What was the investigator? I can't remember his name. The guy that the Star report. I mean, that's a permanent document that he can never escape.
He was impeached. He wasn't convicted, but he was impeached.
But he doesn't care.
But it made no difference to him.
You have to admit, though, he looks pretty presidential compared to Obama.
He knew that he wouldn't be convicted, and he knew that he would go on with his presidency.
Is he more presidential than Obama?
He would have to be.
How is it that this is also the week when we're celebrating the 19th Amendment, women's suffrage? It seems kind of weird that...
What's that got to do with dogs?
Well, the idea that men are dogs, you know?
No, just one.
You know, now even that has kind of become forgotten in all this stuff about who we are in terms of sex or
well, we're darn lucky we live in America and we do have the right to vote because they're still beating women and stoning them in the Arab countries.
Stan, it can't just be the Arab countries, right? Isn't it an issue
well,
like...
it's not, if you mean where women are discriminated against, oh my God, no. But there are a number, for example, of African countries where genital mutilation is routinely practiced.
What about some of these island...
whether they are Islamic or not.
What about some of these island countries where there's ancient civil, tribes?
I don't know, I've never been to those. But...
are the Muslim countries the worst?
That would also be impossible.
Saudi Arabia.
See, first of all, you can't group them all together.
Well, when you commit adultery, they stole them.
Well, not necessarily. It depends on the country. I lived in Azerbaijan for many years, for about 12, 13 years. Azerbaijan gave women the right to vote before the United States did. And in Azerbaijan, women don't wear burqas or veils or anything else unless they wish to. They can if they want, but they don't have to, and most do not.
Yeah, no, that just reminds me of something.
They have the right to divorce men.
I'm sorry, let me cut you off for a second. You can't show cleavage on an airplane but you can't wear a burqa on an airplane. What's the balance here? I mean, it just seems kind of funny.
I think it's a waste of time to
People
search for
I
consistency.
do too, I do too.
And
And
what's-
personally, what's the matter with profiling? If all of a certain type of crime have been committed by a small group of people, why aren't we looking at those people? I mean, why do I have to take my shoes off when I get on a plane? Do I look like a terrorist?
Well, since we talked about women's suffrage and we talked about what to wear on an airplane and roles and, you know, gender and pretty people and everyday people, what's going on now locally? This has been very, very quiet. Is this like the quiet season? When does it heat up, Stan?
Well, I think that it will heat up again after the Republican convention.
But I mean locally.
Sure, I'm saying locally. What's happening locally is that the two parties locally are reassessing their positions in the wake of the election. I think the Democrats expected to win at the county level easily, as they always have, and they were shocked to discover that there is a second political party in Volusia County, and it's found its voice.
But this was a Republican primary for all intents and purposes, right, Sally?
Well, but there was a Democrat primary as well, but yes.
But there were no candidates in it.
Well, you know,
Well, there
this
were
is-
the ones who were running for re-election.
Yeah. and
But
there-
what
there
I
was-
mean is, like, for example, Dave Hood, Republican in Ormond Beach for the state representative seat that's going to come down.
Well,
to
David's
Sonora.
fortunate, he has no opponents.
Well, he has I guess, a writing candidate
Well,
in the
yes.
fall. You know, you had De La Roche and Matusik, two Republicans going at it.
Yes.
But
You
that's
had,
how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, Stacey
That's why
Warren
you
and
have,
everything.
Right, Stacia Warren.
you have, and I'm sorry that
RJ
she didn't win. You have primaries so that you can duke it out and see who's gonna come out on top and what people want. You know, if they pick a certain candidate, it's usually because that candidate has a view similar to their own. And we need to have primaries. I thought it got a little muddy out there sometimes this year, but that's just the way it is.
Well, on that note, for Sally Gillis and Stan Escudero, this is Henry Frederick of Headline Surfer, and this is the Roundtable, and we hope everyone has a good week. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank